Hi, Brother Nashi, please post my story is anonymous. I do come from Bushbuckridge, and I saw a mermaid in one of the rivers where I grew up. And after I saw this mermaid, I started to experience a lot of good luck, but a Zimbabwean man stole that good luck away from me. I want to ask your listeners, after they would have listened to my story, how do I take this power that I was given by God when I was born? Hello, Brother Nashi, please post my story. I am a South African woman. I am reaching out to you today because I need to share my story with your channel, but I also desperately need help and advice from your listeners. I am a woman who lost a spiritual gift to a Zimbabwean Sangoma whom I became friends with, and we briefly dated. I dated this man without even realizing that he did not mean anything good for me. He only wanted to use me so that he can become much more powerful in his own spiritual dealings. And what hurts me is that by the time that this man dumped me and moved on with another woman, he had finished with me sexually, so destroyed my womb, and he had stolen the only gift that my God and ancestors had granted to me. And wherever he is right now, he is someone that is considered to be a wealthy Sangoma. And as for me, I am suffering so much today because of the decisions that I took too many years ago. I regret those choices that I made to this very day. What makes my situation so terrifying is that I am still communicating with this man. We are still in communication, even though he does not want to tell me where he is. The phone numbers that he is using, if I Google, it seems as if it is a phone number that is used by people that are in Europe. But when I tried to search more about him, I could not find proof that he is outside of the country, because in his videos that he posts, you can see him on the N1, but he tried to prove that he is living back in his country. If I ask him, where are you right now? He will say that I am back home. Of course, I'm not in South Africa, but you can see that he is in South Africa through these TikTok videos. Whenever I try to stand up to him and say, man, you used me, is fine, I want my things back, that is when he starts to threaten me, because he once bought an engagement ring for me. When he bought this engagement ring, we went to the river. He smashed he smashed an egg on that engagement ring before he had put it on my finger, and he said that it is a love covenant, but I did not do the same. The ring that he made me to put on his finger, he has it. The ring that he put on my finger, he has it as well, because he took it when we were breaking up. So I said, you can take back your stupid ring, after I found out that he was cheating. So he is using this as form of a spiritual covenant, making me to be his spiritual wife. He threatens me, and when he issues a threat, even on TikTok, the way that my mother can fall ill, she can end up in a coma. This has happened 3 times. That is how powerful and dangerous this man is. I want to ask people who listen to your channel, especially those who understand traditional matters, those who know spiritual things, or those who stay on the other side of the border in Zimbabwe. What is the best way to speak with a Sangoma that used to be on good terms with you, but you are no longer in good terms with them? How do you tell a powerful traditional healer like that to return your spiritual gift without bringing destruction in your life or death to your family? This is my full confession of how things got so wrong in my life. My story started when I was still a very little girl growing up in Bushbuckridge in Mpumalanga, and the environment that I grew up in, it was not so easy. My father, he had 2 wives. My mother was his first wife, but my mother worked as a domestic worker. She was a maid for a white family that was a bit far from the village. but in Bumalanga still. My father also worked as a gardener for the same white family. Because of their jobs, my parents were hardly ever home during the week. They would spend the entire week working at the white people's house and would only return back home on Friday evening to spend the weekend with us. This meant that for the whole week, from Monday to Friday, my siblings and I, we were left under the care of my stepmother. She was my father's youngest wife, and she was not a nice woman at all. She hated me with a passion. She mistreated me. She forced me to do all the household duties when my mom was not around. And when my mom and dad were around, she'll be like, I don't want you kids to be working because when you clean, you do not clean properly. She would carry me on her back. She would go with me to buy a cool drink. She will do things for me that would make her look so good in front of my dad and my mom. And she made me feel like I was an outsider in my own father's home. The moment that my mom and my dad will be on the taxi returning back to their workplace. My stepmother had her own daughter. She was my half sister. She spoiled her child, whilst she treated me like I was a slave to her daughter. One day, when we were coming back from school, we were still in primary school by then. Her daughter had a terrible stomach upset and she had diarrhea at school. So she ended up messing her underwear because she was embarrassed. I tried my best to protect him. I walked with him, even gave her my own jacket so that she can cover herself and made sure that the other children would not laugh at him to even bully him. I literally protected her because she was my little sister. But when we arrived home, my half sister completely turned the story around. To cover up for her own embarrassment, she lied to her mother and said that I was the one that had been bullying her and making fun of her with the other kids at school. I tried to explain that I did not bully her at all, but my stepmother refused to hear my side of the story. It was in June, and during June, it's winter, right? As you know, in June, it gets dark really fast, and by 5 p.m., the sun is already going down, and it might look like it is 6 or 7 p.m. at night with the way that it will be dark. My stepmother was so angry about the lie that her daughter had told her. She went into the house, then she took this big laundry basket that she kept in her own bedroom that she used to put her dirty clothes in there. And this basket was full of the clothes that belonged to him, and she only picked those clothes that are very hard to wash, the jeans. That is what she threw them, and some sneakers. And then she said to me, I want you to go and wash these clothes right now at the river. So in our village, because we did not have running water, we used to go to the village. We used to go to the village stream. That was where we would wash our clothes by the river. I looked at the sun and I saw that it was already getting dark. I begged her and I said, please, it is really getting dark. I can't go to the river at this time. Let me not go to school tomorrow, and I will wash them tomorrow morning during the day. She slapped me hard, and she looked at me and she said, as she was closing her pot that was on the stove, and she said, you're not going to eat any food in this house tonight unless you go to the river and you wash each and every clothes that is in the laundry basket, including the sneakers. And I want everything to be clean. Knowing how cruel she could be, I had no choice. I lifted that basket, passed through my friend's house, thinking that I was going to catch him, but she was not around. I thought that she was the one that was going to assist me. Then I walked alone all the way down to the river, which was outside of our village. Now, in our area in Bushbuckridge, there was a specific river that everyone knew. It was like a forbidden river. Old people used to tell us to never go near that river late in the afternoon or at night because it belonged to the ancestors and it belonged to the marine spirits, the mermaids. Because I was terrified of being starved and I was afraid of being beaten by my stepmother, I went straight to that forbidden river. I was indeed thinking about the mermaids. I sat on the rock and I started washing the clothes that were there using my own bare hands. It took me a very long time because these clothes, they were many. By the time that I finished rinsing and when I was done, it was maybe around 7:30 at night. It was dark. You could barely see where you were going. I was just using my knowledge that this road, it leads me back home. So when I was done, I carried that basket that had the clothes. Now they were even more heavier because they were wet. To get back to the village from that river, it was not like a big river. We used to swim in there. It was not too deep. You have to cross a small stream. It is a very shallow stream that connects back to the village and it connects back to the main river. The water in that stream is so shallow, it does not even reach your ankles. You can clearly see what is going on when you are walking in that stream. I then stepped into that small stream carrying the heavy basket. I suddenly heard that splash, like when someone has jumped into the swimming pool, like you can hear the splash of water. And when I looked behind me, I then saw that there was a woman that was there. I did not see a human being, but I saw a very beautiful girl. She was so beautiful. She was dark skinned, but her skin was glowing. Like it was dark, but it seemed as if someone had zoomed in on my eyes and I could actually see how this girl was looking. She was so nice. Her hair was so beautiful. It was flowing down to her feet, but she was completely naked. I could see everything on her. She was standing there and she was looking directly at me. At first, when I looked at him, I thought that I saw human feet, but when I blinked and looked again, her legs had completely disappeared. From her waist going down, she had no feet. Her lower body had become into a smooth tail like that of a fish. I was so terrified that I dropped the basket. I even let out a scream and I started running. I ran so fast. I was running like I really do not know. When I arrived back home, my stepmother started shouting at me, calling me stupid and useless for dropping some of the wet clothes, but I did not even care about what she said. My stepmom, she had this other radio that had a big flashlight. She said, "Let us go." We walked, and I was walking behind her and her daughter as her daughter was complaining about my stupidity. We picked up the sneakers and the clothes. I kept on telling her that I had seen something by the river, and she was like, "Far off, keep quiet, you are so stupid. You have made me to walk in this darkness and coldness. Just remain quiet, otherwise I'm going to kill you and say that you have committed suicide." So I was crying and I was terrified about what I had seen. From that night going onwards, my life changed forever. I started having intense dreams every time that I went to bed. In my dreams, I would see myself being taken down into the marine kingdom. I would see myself deep under the water, but breathing normally, walking with other creatures underneath them. And these were mermaids. Some were handsome men that were so handsome and very beautiful women. And these dreams, they spoke with me. The beings that I saw in the dreams, they were talking to me. They told me that they had felt sorry about the way that my stepmom had been mistreating me, and they had decided to give me a better life. They said that already I was born with a spiritual gift, a calling from the water, and I was supposed to be a powerful Sangoma, for this was supposed to be my destiny. I started to tell my stepmother, I don't know if it was me being young and confused about these dreams that I was having every night. Instead of him telling me what was happening to me, the way that she helped me, she cursed me. She took me to people who understand spiritual callings, and she said that I was never supposed to tell my father or my mother about this. My stepmother did something very cruel. She took me to a Sangoma. We even traveled back to her village where she came from. And this traditional healer, when she told the traditional healer that I was having dreams, the Sangoma then took some herbs at night and mixed with some ashes, and they forced me to drink that juice, which was very hard to swallow. As soon as I drank, my dreams completely stopped. It was as if someone had shut the door and I could not connect anymore with my dreams. For years, I lived like a normal child. However, a spiritual gift cannot be destroyed by herbs alone. Years later, when I hit puberty, the month that I went on my periods, then the spiritual dreams they came back. Once again, when I would go to bed, I would see myself in the marine kingdom, swimming, playing underneath the water with mermaids, playing with large snakes that live underneath the water, colorful fish. The marine spirits were reminding me that I was supposed to become a Sangoma. After I finished my matric in Bushbuckridge, I knew that remaining in the village, my stepmother was going to sell me to other men. So I took my bags, moved with to my auntie who stayed in Joburg looking for employment. Luck was on my side. I managed to get a job through my auntie, but there was this spiritual confusion that was happening in my life. It was just chaos. My life would be bad luck, good luck, bad luck at all the times. Even at work, I would get a good job, then I'll get fired for no reason. I would experience financial doors being opened, and then when I try to do something in business, lose all of that money. The worst part was the curse was my love life. Whenever I would meet a nice man and fall in love, that man will become violent. He will start to beat me. I even lost some teeth because of that violence. I remember one specific boyfriend I had in Joburg. He became like a psycho. He tried to kill me because I said, "You are becoming too violent and I don't want to be in this relationship anymore." He attacked me with a bottle that he broke. I escaped with bruises on my hands. Before these relationships ended, I would always have the same dream. A spirit from the marine kingdom will appear in my sleep and say, "You're going to meet another man soon. He will give you a lot of money and comfort." And just as the dream would have predicted, it would happen in real life. I would meet a wealthy man, spoil me, buy me iPhones, take me to vacations in the country. Within a few months, the curse would kick in. The man will start to beat me and driving me away. My life was total confusion, pain, instability, making money, you're not making money, a stable job, no stable job. I did not even know what happiness meant at that time. Desperate for for a solution, I went to a South African traditional healer in Sangoma. He said to me, "You have a strong marine spirit attached to your bloodline. The reason your life is upside down, the reason men turn violent against you, it is because the water spirits are angry. They want you to accept your calling. If you want this marine spirit to give you its full blessings and peace, you must go through the proper process of initiation. You must do ukutwasa and become a Sangoma." I asked him what is required. He explained that the initiation takes time, money, and I have to pay the Sangoma to buy ritual clothes, animal sacrifice, to live with the Sangoma for almost a year, whilst they train you how to use the herbs to communicate with the spirits. I sat and I started thinking about reality. I was a working woman. I had to pay rent, support my mom, who was old back home, and I could not just leave my job for a year to stay with that Sangoma being initiated. I did not have money because you need a lot of money to be initiated to be a Sangoma. So I said, okay, I'll come back. That is why I stopped with the initiation ceremony. I think that this decision was the biggest mistake of my life because I wanted a quick solution. Not long after that, I met a Zimbabwean Sangoma in Joburg. When I went to him, he said, my sister, why do you want to waste your money? Spend a whole year being initiated. There is no need for you to go through that. Your ancestors are already in your blood. We can do a short, powerful ritual to force them to open up everything for you so that you can communicate direct with your marine spirits. Looking back, there were so many red flags that I completely ignored because I was desperate. I was sick at all the times because of the marine spirits. When the Sangoma, this Zimbabwean Sangoma, spoke to me, he was not interested in my healing or anything. Instead, he would always ask me about South African tradition. He was obsessed with knowing how me as a South African can communicate with a mermaid. He wanted those details, the herbs and charms that South Africans use for water spirits. How do Sangomas in South Africa create powerful charms and to also create tokoloshis? He then said, for this fast cleansing to work, we must directly go to where you first met this marine spirit. We have to go to Mpumalanga, perform the ritual at that river where you first saw the water spirit. Because I just wanted to be cured, we then arranged and we traveled from Joburg to Bushbuckridge. When we arrived, he said that I do not want your family or your stepmother to know that we are here. The ritual must be done in secret. Otherwise, the spirit will be offended. So we did not go to my family's homestead and we booked at a guest house. He rented his own room and I had my own separate room. We were using his car. For 3 nights, we would wake up at night, drive to that river where I had seen that young girl, and he brought his own charms and we slaughtered chickens. He was speaking in his Shona language and he would pour the blood on top of my head and he would always bath with the water that he would have used to bath me. I thought that he was cleansing me, unlocking my marine gift so that I can have peace in my life. Maybe this man, he was using me to steal my spiritual power, to transfer the blessings to himself. On the third night, after completing the final ritual, he then bought a pot. It was a big aluminium pot, but it was black in color. He then said, in order for us to capture this spirit, this is what we are going to do. He said that I was supposed to put that pot on top of my head, upside down, meaning that my head, it was inside the pot. We drove from Bushbuckridge until we reached Joburg with my head inside of the pot. This is what happened. I'm not lying. I believed that he was capturing the spirit of the ancestors so that I can become powerful like a Sangoma. I got on the back seat and we traveled like that. When we returned to Joburg, this man, he suddenly changed his behavior. I thought that maybe it was because we had a sexual relationship. He started avoiding me, then he disappeared. My situation became even worse, was fired at work. About 2 months after that trip to Bushbuckridge, I was standing at the taxi rank. Whilst I was standing in line, there were a lot of people on that day. That was when a nice car, it was a BMW. It was so nice and it did not even have number plate. You know, people, they started to talk about that car. Someone who was behind me said, yo, guys, look at that. Some people, they are living a nice life. Just imagine driving that kind of a car. Then I saw that the same Zimbabwean Sangoma was sitting on the driver's seat. He did not see me at first. He had came to the taxi rank to pick up a woman who was standing right near me in the same queue at the taxi rank. So this woman noticed that me and the Zimbabwean Sangoma, we were looking at each other and that guy was trying to avoid me. So I kept on looking at him. And maybe she thought that I was like his secret girlfriend. And then she went to the car. She seemed so aggressive and they started to shout at each other. Even the people were laughing. She then pointed at me when she entered the vehicle. She was like, "Why is that girl over there looking at you like that? Do you know her?" She even had the window open because she wanted us to hear about the argument. The Sangoma then called me. I walked there. When I walked to the car, then she said, "Oh, yes. Oh, it's you. It's you. I know this girl. She used to be a client of mine. I once assisted him with a spiritual cleansing. She was running mad, this one. Can you believe it?" Brother Nasha, I laughed and I said, "Han, now I'm running mad." I just stood there when he was reversing because he said, "Oh, be careful. I might hurt you. Let me reverse, then we can talk." So I excused myself. When he reversed, he just drove off. Brother Nashi left me there standing like a fool. I returned back to the queue. I was like, hey, this is really terrible. I had a dream on that very same night when I went to bed. I saw that mermaid, and this mermaid looked at me and then she said, "I gave you a gift, but you gave that gift to someone else. You were supposed to use that gift to protect your family and to protect others, but you have chosen to give that gift to a stranger." Ever since I woke up from that dream, my spiritual dreams have vanished. I can't have another dream. When I sleep like a baby. I don't wake up until the next morning. Since that day, my life, it is terrible. This man, when he posts videos on TikTok, it is really painful for someone like me because I suspect that he is using my gift to make money like the way that he is making. This is why I am writing to you today. I am putting my story out there because I want help. I want to ask your audience, especially Sangomas who stay on the other side of border in Zimbabwe or any Zimbabweans in South Africa, how do I approach this Sangoma whom I used to have a sexual relationship with? How do I speak with him so that he can return back what belongs to me? All that I want is to be okay, to live a normal life. Please post anonymously. I'll be reading the comments and waiting for any guidance, prayer, advice that can help me reclaim my life and my gift before it is too late. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by our dear sister. Let us speak with him in the comment section. What is she supposed to do? Because her gift is stolen, and that is true. It happens. If you go to a prophet, if that prophet sees that you know nothing about spirituality, they can put a plate on top of your head and they can steal your gift. Even a baby, a newborn baby, they can touch on the forehead and they will use that gift to get more customers. It is true. You should have refused to put a pot on top of your head because he was closing your spiritual door, not in a good way, closing it so that whatever that was supposed to come to you will be coming to him. That is why he became rich so quick. But let us advise him in the comment section.